Hey guys, check out my new store on Etsy called Nina's Nightly Comforts, where you can find everything from men's t-shirts to women's cozy pajama dresses, men's and women's tank tops for those warm nights, throw pillows, a warm and toasty fleece blanket for those cool fall nights that are yet to come, a mug perfect for tea, coffee, or your favorite beverage, and last but not least, a limited supply of specially handcrafted by me dream catchers to capture all of your nightmares that my creepypastas will leave you with. Everything to get you comfortable and in the right mood to listen to your favorite creepypastas. You can find the link posted below in the description and also in my community tab. And if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to keep me in your nightmares. I always thought that Halloween was just an okay holiday. I never understood why some people, other than kids, enjoy it so much and go all out. The only reason I ever look forward to it is because it also falls on another very special day, my birthday. But this year things are a little different though. I usually take my two nieces, Daisy and Delilah, out trick-or-treating, but due to the virus that's going around, this year it's been canceled. The girls were really bummed when they found out that they wouldn't be getting all dressed up this year, so knowing that I was going to be babysitting them tonight anyway while their parents attend a small Halloween party, I decided to do something special for them so that they would still have a fun night. I pull up to my sister Tracy's house at 5 p.m. sharp, giving me plenty of time to get all of the stuff that I brought inside before they have to leave. People around here usually spend a lot of time on their decorations. Well, at least in the small neighborhood that my sister lives in. There are about 10 houses, 5 on each side of the street, and at the end of the street is a little cul-de-sac. It's nice to see that all of the neighbors have still decided to decorate even though trick-or-treating has been canceled. Some lawns have been transformed into graveyards, while others are full of Halloween blow-ups and lights. Corpses dangle from trees, and cobwebs span almost every doorway. All of their decorations are pretty attention-grabbing, but I have to say that my sister's tops them all. Her and her husband spare no expense to gather any and all materials needed to successfully creep out kids and adults alike. She always carves the scariest faces into her pumpkins, and then they sit there on the porch steps glaring at people passing by with their soulless eyes. My favorite decoration of hers would have to be a tie between the Grim Reaper doorbell that when you press it, it activates a smoke machine in the yard, and the witch with the warts and all holding her broom in one hand that sits in a rocking chair next to the front door. She told me once before that some of her neighbors seem to think she's a bit crazy, and I would have to agree. She is one of those people that go all out when it comes to Halloween. I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. You get a little candy and you get spooked out. But what I don't get is why someone would want to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on decorations like it was Christmas or something. But she doesn't seem to care what people think of her. As long as they run away screaming on Halloween night, that's all she ever wants. And they usually do, every year. But that won't be happening tonight. I grab the box full of paints, brushes, and other decorating materials from my trunk, make my way up the walkway, and ring the doorbell. Smoke fills the yard as I glance toward the driveway looking for my sister's car. But when I don't see hers or my brother-in-law's car parked in the driveway, I assume that maybe they must have parked in the garage. When nobody answers, I figure that everybody must be upstairs, so I sit the box down on the porch and reach into my jacket pocket to grab my cell phone. That way I can give them a call to let them know that I'm here. As I dial my sister's number, I ring the doorbell one more time. Another round of smoke is dispersed into the yard, making it nearly impossible to even see the street. Then a moment later, I hear the pitter-patter of footsteps running across the wood floors, so I hang up. Just as the door swings open, I rush down the steps and back to my car to grab the box of pumpkins that I just bought from the farmer's market on my way over, then slam the trunk closed and head inside. 6-year-old Daisy and 8-year-old Delilah are struggling to pull my other box into the dining room. "Happy birthday, Auntie Claire," they shout in unison as soon as I walk through the door. Thanks. Hey, where are your mom and dad? I question when I don't spot them. They already left, Delilah tells me with a huge smile on her face. Knowing that she must be kidding, but deciding to go along with her little joke, I say, and they left the two of you here all alone. Delilah nods her head. Mommy said that she would be here any minute, and since I'm such a big girl, she left me in charge. Isn't that right, Daisy? Nodding her head, she replies, Uh-huh. Mommy and Daddy just left. Oh, really? I ask, as I sit the box of pumpkins down on the table and then start walking around, searching the downstairs. When I find no sign of them, I figure that they must be upstairs still getting ready, so I go up there to look for them next. Oh, there you are, I say, as I walk into my sister's bedroom and plop down on the bed. Where else would I be? She asks, confused. I think the girls are trying to play a prank on me. They said that you and Mark left already. Oh, I see, she answers, as she adds the finishing touches to her costume. Oh, by the way, happy birthday. Just as I'm about to thank her, that's when Daisy comes running up the stairs after me, shouting, Did we trick you, Auntie Claire? You sure did. Hey, why don't you and your sister go put on your costumes? I have some special stuff planned for us to do tonight. She runs away excitedly, and I assume that she's going to find her sister so that she can deliver the good news. Just then, my sister turns from the mirror to me and says, Thanks so much for doing this. I know it's your birthday and that you probably like to be doing something else, so I really appreciate you watching the girls for us tonight. It's really no problem at all. You know I usually take them trick-or-treating anyway. Yeah, I know, but you don't usually spend the night. Well, you couldn't find anyone else to babysit, and I didn't want you guys to have to miss the party. Look, it's really no big deal. I didn't have any other plans anyway. Well, I promise that I'll make it up to you. Me and Mark will take you out to dinner this weekend. Anywhere you want to go. You've got yourself a deal. And I already have a place in mind. Oh yeah? Where? That new Italian place across town. I heard that they're a little expensive, my sister tells me. Wait a second. Are you complaining? You just said that I could pick any place I wanted to go. No, it's fine. I'm sure Mark won't mind. Just then, Mark comes out of the bathroom. Hi, Claire. Hey, Mark. Then he looks over at my sister. You aren't ready yet? We're going to be late. No, come on, I'm ready. Let's go, she tells him as she grabs her purse from the bed. I'll see you tomorrow, she says as I stand up to give her a hug. Okay, I love you. You guys be careful. The three of us head downstairs to find Daisy and Delilah all dressed up, waiting for us in the living room. You two look beautiful, I tell them, as they twirl around so that I can see every inch of their costumes. I guess they opted for less scary ones this year. Daisy is dressed up as a pumpkin princess, and Delilah is a witch. Last year, they were a skeleton and a zombie. They say goodbye to their parents, and then once my sister and Mark leave, we head to the dining room to get started on the activities that I have planned. I pull 3 glass food jars out of one of the boxes as I tell the girls, So, since we can't go trick-or-treating tonight, we're going to try a craft where we can paint these jars. You can put anything you want on them. And then once they dry, I have these little orange candles that smell like pumpkin spice that we can put inside. I know it's not what we usually do, but I thought it would be fun. It's kind of a different take on the traditional jack-o'-lantern. So we aren't carving pumpkins tonight? Daisy questions, looking disappointed. Are you kidding? Of course we are, silly. What's Halloween if you're not wiping pumpkin guts all over yourselves? They giggle as I lay out some newspapers so that we don't make a mess all over the table, and then I set up the paints, brushes, and other decorations, like googly eyes, yarn that can be used for hair, and glitter. We paint the jars and then set them aside to dry while we paint our pumpkins. The girls choose to do Sully and Boo for Monsters, Inc., while I paint a zombie rising from the grave. Once we're done, I sit those out on the porch to dry, and then we clean up one mess only to make another. I only have one pumpkin left after that, so I cut off the top and then watch as the girls feverishly scrape the gunk from the inside and toss it into a bowl. I plan on stuffing some of the gunk back into its mouth once we carve its face. That way, it'll look like the jack-o'-lantern is vomiting its insides all the way down the steps leading up to the house. Just as the girls are finishing up, the doorbell rings. I wonder who that could be, I say, as I wipe my hands off on a dish towel and then go to answer it. When I open it, I'm surprised to see a kid, who from their height I would say looks about 10 or 11, standing there in full costume. I assume that they're alone because I don't see anyone else standing on the porch with them. Or maybe they might have a parent with them. I honestly wouldn't know, because when they rang the doorbell, it caused the smoke machine to go off, and now the whole yard is covered in thick smoke, making it impossible for me to see anything. I think it's a little boy from the costume they are wearing, but I can't be sure, and I find it kind of weird when he holds a pillowcase out toward me and says,
"Trick or treat."
His voice sounds distorted, like there's a voice changer or something inside of his mask. It gives me the chills, which throws me off for a second. I guess he didn't hear trick-or-treating was canceled this year. When he shakes the pillowcase, insinuating that he wants some candy, I tell him, I'm sorry, but I don't have any candy. I didn't expect anyone to be stopping by tonight. Didn't you hear that trick-or-treating was canceled? He doesn't respond. All he does is stand there in his creepy jester costume, staring straight at me. Well, I'm assuming that's what he's doing. I can't exactly see his eyes, but I can feel them. And the uncomfortable feeling that is coursing through me at this exact moment is making me feel as if they are staring right through me. His costume consists of a black and white diamond print jumpsuit with blood red trim and tiny red pom-poms embellishing the edges, black boots, white gloves, and a creepy mask featuring a sinister grin and red eyes that match the bells that are dangling at the tips of the jester hat. His detailed accessories, the pillowcase that has the same black and white diamond print pattern as his costume, and the red and black candy cane striped staff with a jester head on top and sharp knife-like tip at the bottom adds the perfect creepy touch to the costume. But the thing is, it doesn't look brand new. The more that I look at it, the more ancient it seems to me. Like this thing has been worn many times before and was passed down the family line. Because there's no way that this kid could have had it for so long and still fit into it so well. When I notice just how sharp the tip of the staff is, and the way that it is digging into the wood of the porch, I think to myself, isn't this kid a little too young to be carrying that thing around? I swear it could classify as a deadly weapon. I repeat my previous statement, this time a little louder, making sure that there's no way he doesn't hear me. Look, I'm really sorry, but I don't have any candy. Then just as I'm about to close the door, Daisy comes running over. Who is it, Auntie Claire? As soon as she sees him standing there, she clings to my leg and tells me, I don't like that costume. It's too scary. Just then, the kid tilts his head to the side, stares at Daisy for a few seconds, and then bangs the staff on the porch 3 times, scaring her half to death. Just as I'm about to tell him to get the hell out of here, he slowly turns around and just walks away, through the smoke, and then disappears into the darkness. I close the door as I think, what a little jerk, trying to scare a little girl like that. What did that scary person want? Daisy questions, as we walk back toward the dining room. He wanted some candy. I guess he didn't hear that trick-or-treating was canceled. I have some candy. It's upstairs in my room. You know, the candy that you snuck to me and Delilah last time you came over. As much as my sister loves Halloween, she despises her kids eating too much candy. So me being the great aunt that I am, I sneak them some from time to time when I come over, and they keep it stashed in a secret place in their bedroom. Aw, sweetie, that's very nice that you want to share your candy, but I gave that to you and Delilah. We go back to carving the jack-o'-lantern, and then once we're finished, we clean up, and I tell the girls to go upstairs to change out of their costumes into their pajamas. And as soon as they go running up the stairs, the doorbell rings again. Immediately, I think it must be another trick-or-treater as I go to answer it. But once I open the door, I'm surprised to see that there's no one there. I think to myself, maybe they went to another house already. I must have taken too long to answer. I close the door, and just as I take a few steps toward the kitchen to get back to what I was doing, the doorbell rings again. This time I run over and pull the door open, but yet again, there's nobody there. I step out onto the porch and take a look around, but don't see anyone in sight. I figure it's probably that same kid who just came looking for candy, and since I didn't have any to give him, he decided to come back and ring the doorbell again, trying to be funny. Maybe he didn't get the memo that last night was actually mischief night. I go back inside, light a candle, place it in the pumpkin, and then head back outside to sit it on the porch. Just as I bend down to place it on the top step, I catch a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. And when I turn to look, I swear that I see something black and white running across the neighbor's yard. And I could have sworn that I heard the faint sound of bells ringing too. I walk over to the edge of the porch to try and get a closer look, but whatever it was is gone now. So I head back inside and find the girls waiting for me in the kitchen. "Who's ready to bake some cookies?" Me, Daisy and Delilah squeal excitedly. I pull out the cookie cutters, shaped like different Halloween objects, such as pumpkins, bats, and ghosts, and then we get started. While we're waiting for the cookies to bake so that we can decorate them with icing and sprinkles, we turn off all of the lights, and then the girls compete with one another to see who can tell the scariest tale. They designate me as the judge, and when it comes time to vote, I tell them, "I don't think I can choose. Both stories were so terrifying." But honestly, neither of their stories were that scary. Daisy's was about a friendly ghost that spent every Halloween night roaming the cemetery searching for his family, and Delilah's was about a vampire who only ever comes out on Halloween night to suck the blood of the town's trick-or-treaters. Delilah started off sounding rather frightening, but the way that she told it made me want to laugh instead of scream. It was just so darn cute, the way that she tried to change her voice at certain parts in the story, trying to be all of the different characters. Just then, the timer on the oven goes off. I turn the lights back on and then make my way to the kitchen, and just as I'm about to remove the cookies from the oven, I hear the faint sound of screaming coming from outside. At first, I ignore it, figuring that it's probably just some kids playing around, or maybe someone's watching a scary movie and they have the volume turned up a little too high. But then, when I hear it again a moment later, it startles me and causes me to knock over the bowl of extra cookie dough. I take the oven mitt off of my hand, sit it down on the counter, and then grab the dishcloth and wipe up the mess before I go out to the porch to check it out. When I step out onto the porch and take a look around, that's when I see the same kid that came to the door earlier tonight walk out of the neighbor's house and close their door behind him, and then he goes strolling down the street dragging his pillowcase along. "Oh, so that's where you live, you little shit. If this kid pulls that ding-dong ditch crap again, I'll know exactly where to go," I think to myself before heading back inside. Just as I close the door, I remember the cookies. "Oh, damn it, the cookies," I shout as I rush to the kitchen. "Oh no, are they burnt?" Daisy asks. "Just the edges. It's okay. They'll still taste good once we put the icing and sprinkles on. They just have to cool off for a few minutes." The girls climb up to the table and get ready to decorate the cookies. After waiting for them to cool, they each grab one and pile a glob of icing on it, then pour a pound of sprinkles on top. "This is going to taste so good," Daisy tells me as she raises her cookie to her mouth and then takes a bite. "So how is it?" I ask. "Yummy." "Mine too," Delilah says in agreement. "Okay, well after you two are done, it's time to brush your teeth." "Aw, it's bedtime already?" Delilah complains. "No, not yet. We can watch a movie, and then it's time for bed." The girls start to argue over which movie they want to watch. Delilah wants to see Hocus Pocus, and Daisy wants to watch Halloween Town. Personally, I like them both, but when the girls ask my opinion, I choose Hocus Pocus, because that's one of my absolute favorite Halloween movies of all time. They head upstairs to brush their teeth, and then I put the movie in the Blu-ray player and let the previews play while I'm waiting for them to come back down. "We're ready, Auntie Claire." Delilah shouts, as they both come racing down the stairs, each of them carrying a blanket and stuffed animal in their arms. We cozy up on the couch and get comfortable. Daisy starts dozing off about halfway through the movie, and just as it's about to end, Delilah's head starts nodding. When I glance over at her, her eyes are closed. I'm just about to wake them up and tell them that it's time for bed now when I hear something. The sound starts off very faint at first, but it's still loud enough that I can tell it's coming from the kitchen. As I make my way toward it, it begins to get a little louder, and the closer I get to the kitchen window, I can now tell that something is tapping lightly up against it. When I reach the window, I quickly rip the curtain open, but I don't see anything or anyone out there. Immediately, I think it's probably that same little shit that rang the doorbell earlier tonight and then ran off. So I let about 30 seconds pass by, thinking that maybe I'll catch him in the act next time, but nothing happens. Figuring that he must have seen my shadow when I was walking over to the window, and then he ran off again, I close the curtain and head back to the living room to wake the girls. Then just as I shake Delilah awake, I hear the same tapping sound again. This time it sounds like it's coming from the other side of the living room. I wait patiently until I hear it again, and then I rush over to that window, and just as I peek out, I see someone disappear around the side of the house. My heart starts to race. I didn't get a good look at whoever it was, so I can't be sure if it was that kid or someone else, but I have a pretty good feeling that it was him, and he is so damn lucky that I have to watch my nieces right now. But first thing tomorrow morning when my sister gets back, I plan on going next door to tell his parents that their kid is a lunatic. Actually, better yet, I say aloud as I head toward the phone in the kitchen, figuring that if I call and report him to the police, once he hears the sirens and sees the lights flashing, that should scare him off. But when I pick up the phone, I expect to hear that familiar sound of the dial tone, but instead I hear nothing but silence. "You've got to be kidding me," I whisper aloud. "What's wrong, Auntie Claire?" Delilah asks. "Nothing, sweetie. Can you do me a favor?" She nods her head. "I need you to go wake up Daisy, and then I want the two of you to go upstairs and get into bed. I'll be up in a little while to tuck you in." "Okay." Who in the hell does this little shit think he is? Cutting the damn phone line, I think to myself. I hang up the phone and start searching for my cell. Now, where did I put it? The last time I had it was right before we sat down to watch the movie. I remember taking pictures of the girls while they were decorating their cookies. Daisy and Delilah head upstairs while I search the entire kitchen and then head to the living room to check there next. Just as I'm moving the couch cushions and looking under them, I suddenly hear the sound of glass breaking, and then the girls' terrified screams flood my ears. I race upstairs and freeze in their bedroom doorway when the lights in the entire house suddenly go out. And then a second later, I feel wind, like someone just rushed past me, and then hear footsteps running down the stairs. "Daisy, Delilah, where are you?" I whisper. "Over here, Auntie Claire," Delilah cries. "Auntie Claire, where are you? I'm scared," Daisy adds. I make my way through the darkness and find the two of them huddled together in the corner of their room, crying their eyes out. "Shh, it's okay, girls. Hey, there's nothing to be afraid of," I tell them. They quiet down a little bit, but stifled cries still escape their lips every few seconds. That's when Daisy tells me, "Auntie Claire, it was that scary person. You know, the one who came looking for the candy." I'm so pissed off right now. I don't want to have to hurt this little kid, but I will do what I have to do in order to protect my nieces. Who knows what this kid is capable of? I mean, obviously he's nuts. Cutting the phone line and breaking in is taking a prank a little overboard. "Look, I already called the cops, you little shit. So if I was you, I would get the hell out of here," I scream. Then I grab the girls' hands and pull them down the stairs after me. "Where are we going?" Delilah wants to know. "Shh," I tell her as we attempt to make our way to the front door without tripping over anything. Just as we make it there, I hear footsteps coming from the kitchen, and when I turn around, I see a dark shadow that comes racing right towards us. The girls start screaming as I let go of Delilah's hand just long enough so that I can open the door, and then I grab a hold of it once again and yank them out the door and down the steps after me. We don't stop until we get to the sidewalk. That's when I turn around and see him standing in the doorway, tilting his head to the side in that same creepy way as when he did it to scare Daisy. I stick up my middle finger, flick him off, and shout, "Let's see what your parents have to say about what you've been up to tonight." And then I run next door and begin banging on the neighbor's front door. To my surprise, it's already open. "Hello, is anybody home?" I question as I step inside. I flick numerous switches on the wall, but the house remains pitch black. I think that the kid must have cut the power lines to his own house too, without knowing. "Hello, is anyone here?" I shout again. When no one answers, the girls and I start to make our way through the house. I know I saw a car in the driveway, so someone must be home. Maybe they're in bed for the night, and if they are, I'm going to feel really bad having to wake them up. But I think that they should know that their crazy kid is roaming the street, trying to scare all of the neighbors. I peek out one of the living room windows, expecting to see the kid making his way home to beg me not to tell on him, and confess that this was all just some sick joke. But that's not the case. Just as I look outside, I see him knocking on another neighbor's door. I guess he's moved on and is going to prank them next. So me and the girls head upstairs. Every few seconds or so I call out again, asking if anyone is home, but each time I get no response. Finally, we make it to the top of the stairs and begin searching the bedrooms. The first two are empty, and when we enter the third, an overwhelming copper odor hits me in the face as soon as I open the door. I tell the girls to wait out in the hall. "Hello," I shout yet again as I make my way inside. I can tell that someone's lying in the bed. "Hello," I say a little louder as I approach it. But the closer I get, I start to sense that something is terribly wrong. I slowly reach out and gently pull the comforter down, then gasp in horror when I see a man and woman lying in bed. Their pajamas are shredded, their bodies are mangled, and their limbs are dismembered and mismatching. I've never seen anything quite like it. The woman's hands are on the man's body, posed as his legs, and the man's legs are posed as the woman's arms. It's the most grotesque thing that I think I've ever seen. And on the wall above the bed, written in blood, are the words "trick or treat," with the word "trick" circled. I go rushing out of there, gagging. I hadn't been scared until now, knowing that the kid was the last one I saw leaving this house, so he must have been the one who did this to these people. Me and the girls race out of the house, and my first thought is to hop into my car and get the hell out of here. But as we go to get inside, I realize that all 4 of the tires are slashed. Plus, me being in such a hurry running out of my sister's house, I forgot my keys inside. I bang on a few of the other neighbors' doors, but nobody answers. A common thing I seem to notice is that just like the first neighbor's house, all of their doors are already partly open. But too frightened to go inside, knowing what I just seen at the other house, I'm sure that I won't find anything that is going to make our situation any better. And my thoughts are validated when I run to the next house, knock, and the door swings open, only to reveal someone's hand lying in a puddle of blood, reaching toward the doorframe. The only other thing I can think to do is to go back inside my sister's house and try to find my keys so that we can get out of here. "I don't want to go back inside, Auntie Claire," Daisy cries as we approach the house. Just then, I hear one of the neighbors' screen doors slam shut, and thinking that the kid must be over there now, I know that if I'm going to go back inside, I have to hurry and do it now. "I know, sweetie, but we don't have any other choice. I have to go get my keys." So as much as I don't want to, we make our way back inside. I grip the girl's hands tightly as we enter the house. First, I check the dining room, because I know that's where I left my purse, and I find it there, sitting right where I left it on one of the chairs, but it's tipped over and my keys are missing from it. I grab one of the carving tools that we used to carve the pumpkin off of the table and shove it into my back pocket. Then we make our way into the living room. I don't expect to find my keys easily. I know that either the kids stole them or hid them. Just then, I hear footsteps walking around upstairs. What in the hell? I could have sworn that he was at another house, I think to myself, as I hide the girls in a closet and then make my way upstairs. Just as I reach the top step, I see a shadow walk past the window in the girls' room. I cautiously make my way inside, knowing that the only two places to hide in here are in the closet or under the bunk bed, so I kneel down to check beneath the bed first. As my heart pounds out of my chest, I slowly lift the bed skirt with one hand as I grip the carving tool tightly in the other. Then I bend down and peek under it. Thankfully, he's not there. That only leaves one other place, so I start to make my way toward the closet, when all of a sudden I hear the door slowly start to creak shut. I turn around just as he comes charging at me, holding his staff up and aiming it right at me. He catches me completely off guard. I feel so stupid. How could I not have realized that he may have been hiding in there the whole time? I thought for sure that he was in the closet. I try to move out of the way, but I'm not fast enough, and the sharp, jagged tip pierces my abdomen. I shriek in pain as he pulls it out of me and then prepares to do the same thing again. But this time, the sound of Daisy and Delilah crying distracts him. He turns around to find them standing in the hallway, crying uncontrollably. "What are you guys doing? I told you to stay put," I shout at them. The jester raises his staff into the air and then slams it down with such force that it makes the entire floor vibrate. This causes the girls to start screaming even louder, and as if that irritates him, he starts making his way toward them. That's when I sneak up behind him and plunge the carving tool into the back of his neck. He turns around, and I imagine that if I could see his eyes right now, they would be full of rage. Now that his attention is momentarily diverted, the girls go running past him into their bedroom and huddle together in the corner. The pain in my abdomen is so intense, I feel like I'm dying. I grasp at my wound as I take a step forward and reach out to grab the carving tool, but instead, I end up grabbing a piece of his jumpsuit, and when it tears, I gasp, shocked at what I see. Whatever the hell this thing is, I don't think it's human. Its skin is a grayish color and is covered in wart-like bumps. And I hadn't noticed it before, but that's when I realized that piercing through the tips of his gloves are claws. As I stare in disbelief, the thing pushes my hand away and then smacks me to the ground. Just as it stands menacingly above me and raises the staff high in the air, preparing to do more damage, I manage to glance back and see Daisy and Delilah huddled together. But now instead of in the corner where they just were, they have made their way over to where the nightstand is, right beside the bed. They are screaming bloody murder, and the only thing racing through my mind right now is what is going to happen to them after this thing kills me. Just then, it suddenly lowers the staff and starts walking toward them, and the only thing I can manage to do is scream, "No! Please don't hurt them!" because I'm in so much pain I'm barely able to move. When the girls see it coming toward them, they start backing up, but there's nowhere for them to go, so they are literally bumping into the nightstand, knocking things off of it. That's when I see something fall to the floor. At first, I don't realize what it is because it's so dark, but then it slowly starts to come into focus. It's a little Ziploc bag full of candy. I think it's the one that I gave to the girls, and I guess that they keep it stashed behind the lamp. When the thing notices it, all of a sudden it lowers the staff, pulls out its pillowcase, and then kneels down and leans so close to Delilah that her nose is almost touching its mask.
Trick or treat.
It says, in that same distorted voice that it greeted me with earlier tonight when I first answered the door. Delilah glances at the bag of candy, hesitantly reaches forward and picks it up, then cautiously drops it into the pillowcase. But then the creature reaches inside, picks up the Ziploc bag that she just dropped in there, unzips it, and then pours the candy from the bag into the pillowcase itself, piece by piece. Then when they all fall into the pillowcase, it reaches inside, picks up a handful, and then takes a deep whiff of the candy in its hand. Seeing a slight tremble in its mask of the demented satisfaction the aroma of the candy gives it, It drops them all back into the bag and then tosses it over its shoulder. And now, with a friendlier demeanor, it starts making its way out of the room. Once it reaches the hallway, it glances back at us and waves goodbye politely, and then makes its way down the hall. A few seconds later, I hear the front door slam closed. Finally, for the first time all night, I feel a bit of relief. My body starts to relax now that I know that we're all safe. But I guess I must have felt a little more relaxed than I had thought, because the next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital, so I think that I must have passed out. The first thing my sister says to me is that her daughters told her everything, and then she thanks me for keeping them safe. I reply, none of this should have ever happened in the first place. Two things could have avoided all of this. If I would have just given that thing some damn candy. And if Halloween was never canceled. Halloween is around for a reason. I think it's supposed to be some kind of a release for some of these things that are let loose on that night. And if you don't follow their rules on Halloween night, then you're going to pay the price. No matter what any governor or mayor has to say about it being canceled or not. Don't forget to subscribe for new stories weekly. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.